he said that solar was worse for the environment than fossil fuels. Hello, peeps. In this video, I want to talk about my experience doing door-to-door sales at a solar company. And I did this past semester because a lot of my classes, since I'm a music student, work better in person, but due to COVID, they were online. So I thought that was kind of lame, and I wanted some sales experience instead of taking my music classes online. So I joined Ion Solar in January, late January, right around when school started. And today, June 3rd, was my last day. So here are 10 things that I learned. Knocking doors, selling solar. Number 1, neighborhood choice matters. So you are going to vibe better with certain neighborhoods. And factors like income, ethnicity, whether they're renters or homeowners, how new the homes are, and whether it's been knocked before. These things definitely matter. And in my opinion, they probably determine your success more than your own skill level, assuming you're not totally incompetent. Number 2, the most common thing that will happen is no answer. So you'll knock the door and nobody answers. You don't know if there's someone in there, but certainly it's discouraging for a lot of people. You have to realize it is a numbers game. The more no answers you get, the more answers you'll also get. And I do want to address this sort of funnel that you'll experience that the houses will go through for you to get a sale. So when I just started, I knocked this one neighborhood for 4 days. And the first day, there were 108 houses that I actually knocked the doors of. And these were, already sort of filtered out, since some homes, just by looking at the map, they already have solar, so you're not going to knock those. So out of the 108 homes that did not have solar already, 39 of them, only 39 of them actually answered the door. And out of those 39, 22 identified themselves as renters. So that leaves 17 conversations. Out of those 17 conversations, 5 of them were not homes. So they were like children or siblings saying that, oh, it's my parents' house. And there were actually 4 homeowners that said that they were moving. So that leaves 8 people. And out of those 8, 5 said they were not interested, and 3 of them were go-backs. So they perhaps said, could you follow up at a better time? Or something like that, where I didn't get a yes immediately. So let's say you do get a yes. We call that an RFP, or a request for proposal. Since we're just building a solar proposal for them, that would show whether it makes sense to go solar. So it's not the sale directly. We want to show them the numbers before they make a decision. So for the RFP, we set a time for our consultant to come to their house and meet with them. And about half of the time, they will not show up to the meeting. So let's say you get 4 RFPs. 2 of them will not meet. They won't sit for the meeting, and 2 of them will. So the 2 that will, you get paid for sits, at least where I am. So that's $100 each. So that's $200. Statistically speaking, 1 of them will say no, or they'll say yes, but their credit score is not good enough for them to get solar. So you'll end up with 1 yes, and 60 to 70% of the time they won't cancel. So in that case, you would get paid your $225, or it might be different where you choose to work. Number 3, the pay isn't that high because of survivorship bias. So this is a job with a really high turnover rate. A lot of people will not stick for even 2 weeks. When I joined in January, there were let's say 20 people in the office. And by March, there were only 5 of those people or so left. And today was my last day. There were about 20 people, and not a single one of them, aside from me and the manager, were there in January. It's explained by the fact that they go into the job thinking they'll make a lot of money, but the statistics that the company uses to say this is how much you'll make. It's based on the people who did stay. So these are the people who are good enough to make like a decent amount of money, and they'll advertise this job position based on those people instead of the actual average person who comes in. Number 4, the schedule is quite flexible. So especially if you have like a commission pay sort of thing where you don't get any base pay, then you might have a flexible schedule where you work your own hours. And actually, this was a good thing because it allowed me to be a part-time student. Since I did have one class that I could do online, it was music history. So while I was doing that, I was also able to work, the hours that I wanted to. And it was about like 4 hours a day, which isn't that much. Some people do 6 or 8 hours. But it really depends on the individual. Like they won't force you to work more hours if you really don't want to. And you really don't cost the company anything if they don't give you base pay. So they have no reason to fire you. The one thing though is that you should expect to work on Saturday. And they'll either like make this mandatory or you'll definitely want to do it at least yourself, because Saturday is the best day for door knocking. Most people are at home then, and some people won't answer, but Saturday from 10 to 2 is definitely a time that you want to be out there on the doors. Number 5, you have to think about it as a game of putting down pins. It's all about the mindset. You have to convince yourself that it's not about what happens. You just have to do the job. Put down 100 pins per day and you will see results. And if you don't, you have to switch neighborhoods as soon as possible. Number 6, you have to address the objections in the pitch. People will say they're not interested for a variety of reasons, but there are several reasons that are the most common. And usually it's, I'm moving and it's too expensive. So in your pitch, you want to build that in. You want to address the objection before they even have a chance to bring it up. So you want to say something like, in the past, you did have to pay a lot upfront to get solar. But our company did get rid of the upfront cost, so it's just done as a bill swap program. And you want to tell them that even if it's not your forever home, it still might save you money in the short run. It's not just a long run thing anymore, like solar used to be like a decade or 2 decades ago. And aside from these major objections, you also want to know the other ones. Like a lot of people will say, I have to have my roof replaced. Well, in that case, you want to mention the incentives that they have for solar. So depending on where they live, they might offer people, like the government or the electric utility provider, will give people money for going solar and taking pressure off the grid. And that money might actually cover the cost of fixing the roof. So it actually works better to fix your roof and get solar at the same time. And there's about a dozen more objections that you want to know how to address. The weirdest objection that I've gotten is that he said that solar was worse for the environment than fossil fuels. And he said the reason for that was that lithium mining produces a lot of pollution or something like that. And I'm not sure whether that's true. If they even have to mine for lithium. If that is true, then I certainly believe that in the long run, we cannot entirely depend on fossil fuels. So that was very weird to hear. Number 7, use the pullback. So this is a strategy that you want to use in your pitch. When you're building value. And then you want to say, I actually cannot sign you up today. Or we don't even know whether your home qualifies for solar. And the psychological effect of that is that people will want it more because people want things that they can't have. So use the pullback. Number 8, the button up. Basically, you just want to set the right expectations at the end so that they don't no-show your consultant or go into it thinking that it's one thing when it's really another. So you want to tell them that, the consultant will be there and they'll have a 30-minute arrival window in case something happens like traffic or something. And you want to say that to go over the report, it takes about 20-30 minutes, but most people do have a lot of questions. So the consultants are happy to stay there and answer the questions. And you also want to make sure that, they really will be there at that time and that you're not just dropping something off. You want to say something like, is there any reason you would not be here with your spouse tomorrow at 6:30? Because if you're not here, then it would reflect poorly on me. And you want to tell them that they could make a decision, but that they don't have to. Number 9, you want to have a good attitude, and you also don't want to come off as too excited. You want to be easygoing and conversational, but also polished at the same time. A lot of people might go into this job thinking that being excited makes you more likable, but homeowners do see right through that, and they know that you just want the sale. So instead, you want to make it seem like you have to be there. It's your job, your duty, your responsibility to simply talk with all the homeowners about solar. And number 10, door slams are actually very rare. I think that's one of the main misconceptions about door-to-door sales. It's actually very rewarding for people who do stay in it for a long time to see themselves get the success that they were looking for. For me, it took about a month, 2 months to get to the point where I found a neighborhood that would give me about 3 to 4 leads a day, and a lot of them would turn into sits and sales. And when you're in that neighborhood and really vibing with the people and, the general atmosphere of the place, people aren't going to slam the door and turn you away just because you wanted to tell them about solar. They will thank you. It's information that a lot of people don't know, prior to talking to you. Even if they don't go solar, at least they know something about it. It's not as scary as people think it is, really. So those are 10 things that I learned doing door-to-door sales in a solar company. I hope you found value in this video. And if you do have any questions, I will happily answer them in the comments. Have a great day.